Welcome back, everyone. As I said before the break, several issues shaping the election season this year, and none of them as obvious as you'd think, although this first one certainly has gotten a lot of talk. And it's who, first of all, the right claims to be and who the left claims to be, which ground here they'll stake to relate to the voters here, and from how to deal with the economy, whether to favor the 99 or the 1, to how to deal with reproductive rights. An increasingly polarized political process is playing out, as they say, in Technicolor this election year. Well, today, the focus, at least for this hour, is going to be on two of those particular issues, the economy and reproductive rights. Issues that, when you go down to it here, get to the heart of where each party stands in 2012. And I was surprised we're going to fight out some of the culture wars, but you can certainly expect you're going to see that on the campaign trail. But let's first start with money here, and certainly the fight over budget priorities. House Republicans' new budget plan out that they say helps define the difference between the two parties, but will the GOP come to regret the distinctions they're laying out with Mr. Ryan? And Andrew, you saw Representative Ryan's plan. Break it down for everybody. A lot of big numbers here, but also, as I said, a lot of clear distinction between them and the Democrats.
It is, and viewers may feel like they've heard some of this before. They have, because this plan is very similar to previous House GOP budget plans from Paul Ryan, and pretty simple choice for voters. Which is your bigger concern? The deficit or Medicare and other popular, some would say, essential programs? The GOP betting more people will say the deficit, so their budget plan is designed to cut the deficit, not really until a few years from now, though. In the meantime, Ryan's new plan puts Medicare and more on the chopping block. The plan would once again end Medicare as we know it, handing the program over to private insurers with the government subsidizing parts of the costs. It would also raise the Medicare retirement age from 65 to 67. On taxes, and this is some of the bigger changes here, too. Ryan's plan would cram everybody into just two tax brackets, 10% and 25%. Now that 25% is a pretty big cut from the current top rate, which is 35%. Some would call it another giveaway to the wealthiest Americans. It also slashes the corporate tax rate with the promise of cutting out some loopholes at some point, and eliminates all taxes on the money that companies keep overseas, encouraging them to bring it back to the U.S. even if that money would not be taxed. Finally, the Ryan plan would find savings by cutting programs, among them Medicaid, food stamps, Pell Grants for college, and other programs to boot. Now, yesterday, the plan's author, Paul Ryan, was asked about it, and he agreed it is designed to highlight the differences between the Republican agenda and President Obama's.
It defines a difference between Republicans and Democrats' worldview of government. How is it different? How does it define the difference?
Well, I think we owe the country that choice. I mean, I think we owe the country, if we don't like the path the president's put the country on, which we don't, we should show them exactly how we would do things.
All right. The returns on this bill have been, well, probably pretty expected, depending on which fronts you fall on. But it's not just, hey, let's cut out government here. The plan, if you take it out to 2050, basically says, with the exception of the Defense Department and the limited entitlements, there's going to be no FAA. There's going to be no Food and Drug Administration. There's going to be no money for anything. And I know we're not fighting about 2050 tonight, but I was surprised how willing to stick his neck out Ryan was to say, yeah, I'm going to cut food stamps. Yeah, I'm going to cut Pell Grants. Yeah, I'm going to cut these following things that aren't just for the dyed-in-the-wool Democrats. I was a little bit surprised by how much he was willing to put at stake.
Yeah, this is Paul Ryan saying, I'm going all in. This is the Republican Party saying we're going all in if they're going to back the Ryan plan.
And he said, I want to hear what you say, that he checked with the three political camps that are really left, and he says there's no daylight between us. The implication is that this is what's going to be run on by Mr. Romney. So that surprised the heck out of me.
The details will, of course, change. I mean, that'll be debated, but this is a starting, a conversation starter where it is. But it is bold. And I think what the Republican Party is saying through the Ryan plan is that the fiscal problems in the country are so severe that we have to address them in this large a way.
How will that play with the public, Andrew, especially the undecideds out there?
You know, I think that's really where the crux of this is, because the decision seems to be to prioritize the deficit over anything else, which I don't think most Americans agree that is the biggest problem in the country. Most people want jobs and their own individual and their individual circumstances. The other thing is it claims to be a fiscally sound budget plan that puts most of the impetus on the backs of the 99%, for lack of a better term. It does not It cuts the top end the top end tax rate. It actually will increase some of the burden on middle class families who are going to be getting fewer benefits back from the government in return. I'm not so sure how well people are going to respond to it in terms of
suicide. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
It's just it just was coming out here. I understand what you're saying, Bill. He laid it out exactly the way that they're trying to do here, the Republican Party. But Americans are hurting. I think the point that Andrew was just making. Americans want jobs. People are losing their homes. Nobody wants to hear this. We know there's a huge deficit, but cut at what point? And I think that many Americans will look at this, fair-minded Americans, as almost suicide, something that's completely undoable.
Equality and inequality. I think we're going to hear a lot between now and November, don't you think, Bill?
You probably will, but the point is, though, that if entitlements have to be cut, they're going to be cut by people who receive entitlements.
It's a legitimate point. The Democrats haven't laid out a plan there on how they're going to do it for
haven't passed the
what.
budget in 3 years.
Absolutely. That said, though, I give points to them for at least putting it on paper. I don't know how this thing sells.